Hello, students. Today, I would like to give insights into two similar looking career options, architecture and civil engineering. As a student, are you confused choosing between architecture and civil engineering disciplines? If you're confused, then it's time we clarified prominent distinctions between these two academic programs by looking into various perspectives like scope, field of operation, and academics. Real estate sector, especially the construction industry, is heavily dependent upon two professions, architects and civil engineers. As far as industry is concerned, both architects and civil engineers are indispensable part of the construction sector and are vital to the creation of beautiful yet practical, graceful yet super strong structures that stand to the test of time. So, as a global summary, although architects and engineers perform parallel functions in design, implementation of infrastructure, buildings, they are actually very different. Although being quite similar in nature, finding out the differences holds the key to decide which among architecture and civil engineering you should pick for your higher studies. Probably the biggest and most important difference that lies between these two fields is when we look at the scope of the subject. So, when it comes to the real world definition, architecture is more of putting art into buildings. Architecture deals with the design of building structures with the prime focus upon aesthetics. This means they deal with look, feel, and functionality of designs, of course, while keeping in mind the basic structural elements of the building. On the other hand, civil engineers inspects plans and executes the architectural designs for a building or structure. Civil engineering concentrates on structural elements of the design, making certain that the structure stand all the extreme conditions. Civil engineering is also a very broad term and involves design, construction, and maintenance of the physical and natural built environment, including works like roads, bridges, canals, dams, and buildings. In other words, civil engineers deal with the different structural elements of buildings in terms of practicality, deciding the materials to be used, load withstanding capacity of the structure, and long term maintenance. So, let us look into the field of operation of these two disciplines. So, architects and civil engineers work in tandem, and therefore some of their work overlaps to an extent. So, however, when it comes to the field of operations, civil engineers have wide range of options compared to architects. Generally speaking, architects are involved in the development of construction projects which require creative presentation, for instance, residences, commercial complexes, public buildings, etc. On the other hand, any kind of construction work or structural engineering works is undertaken by civil engineers. Therefore, the scope of civil engineering also involves public projects such as bridges, railway tracks, and harbors. Generally, such projects do not require aesthetic consideration and they are purely designed from the practicality perspective, keeping structural integrity as a prime focus. Now that we are clear about the subjective differences among two fields, now let's look into these two disciplines from academic perspectives as well. Academically, architecture and civil engineering programs are very closely related. They have syllabus that looks like quite identical to each other. However, as discussed earlier, despite all the similarities, the focus on different concepts of each academic programs would be vastly different. Architecture would devote more of its academic time upon architecture design and history subjects, while civil engineering tends to more focused analysis on technical aspects of construction. And major difference between these two programs is architecture is a 5-year program with a compulsory internship of 6 months during the 5-year program, and BTech civil engineering is a 4-year program. So, in concise, architects are the ones that create the blueprints. They are the ones who have the vision for what we are going to build, and then the engineers take it forward to that vision and say, okay, how are we going to build? What are the materials we are going to use? These are the areas where civil engineers work on. So again, If you have tendency to think more outside the box, artistic, and want to be in creative space, architecting creative concepts, then you should probably go for architecture. Whereas if you are interested in maths, want to calculate and formulate data driven analysis and have quantitative aptitude, then engineering is for you. So if you find this video more informative, please subscribe this channel for more updates on education, career and technology. I'll be back with more. Until then, stay tuned and thanks for watching me at Life Career Bites.